Welcome, my friends, to Shaking the Salt with Dr. Peppers. My bio reads from troubled teen to teacher of the year, 100-pound weight loss, blah, blah, blah. You know, the sort of thing you're working on in your before and after life story. So at the end of the message, stay tuned if you want to contact me for any reason, including prayers. Thank you. And I'm Dr. Peppers, Shaking the Salt. Here we go. Can't I just have 1 minute of peace around here? What are you kids doing up there? Will you just stop yelling and just let me have 1 minute alone? No, I cannot answer the phone. Please do not make me go there again. I just need a couple of minutes, just a few minutes. In case you've never voiced that, like most of us, you've probably at least thought it to yourself. If you could just be alone, just have a little bit of alone time. You know, there are a lot of people all around the world, especially right now, being quarantined, that are all alone, that wish they could just have one person come over, just one person to listen, just one person to even be able to shake hands with. Wow. Did you ever see this coming a few months ago? No. We were all too busy wanting just to have some peace, just some quiet time, just some time at home to get some things done, just a few days off, and now we have all the time in the world. Isn't it funny that when you do have time, you spend a lot of it worrying and fretting and being anxious and thinking about what's going to happen in the future? How did we get this way? What's going to happen to my family? What if I can't ever see them again? What if we never find a cure for this? Hello, you've got your quiet time. You're all alone. And what are you doing with it? One of our favorite scriptures, most people love this, is in Philippians 4, because it says, be anxious not for anything. In other words, quit being anxious. Just stop being anxious. When my dad was still living and he was having a really hard time getting around, it was a hot, muggy summer day in St. Louis, and I had just taken him out of rehab for his physical fitness, and we got outside the door, and we felt how hot it was, and Daddy had to just stop a minute. He said, just a minute. So we took a few steps. We had a long way to go to the car. So I said, Daddy, you sit here on the bench, and I'll go get the car. And he said, okay. So he sat on the bench. I went and got the car. I said, okay, Daddy. And he wouldn't get up, and so I parked it illegally on the curb, and not on the curb, at the curb. And I said, Dad, come on now. And he said, okay, but he just kept looking at me. And so I got out, and I walked over, and I held his hand, and he stood up with me, and I said, okay, let's go home now. And he said, okay. But he didn't start walking. So I started to push a little bit and pull a little bit, and he said, Deb, don't hurry me. I said, Dad, I'm not hurrying you, but it's hot out here. And he said, I know that. I said, well, come on then. Can't you see I'm sweating? And he said, well, just don't sweat. And then I had a laughing fit, because how do you make yourself stop sweating? I said, Dad, how do I do that? And then he started laughing. And isn't that the same way with the scripture that says, don't be anxious? Okay, don't be anxious. Okay, I won't. Are you anxious? Yeah, but don't push me, don't pull me. I don't want to be anxious. Well, then stop. How do we do it? So I went back to this particular scripture that's found in Philippians, and I took a closer look at this, and there's something very, very interesting. It says, don't be anxious for anything, but through prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, make your requests known unto God, and the peace that passes all understanding shall be yours. Okay, so if I do all of that, then I've got the peace, right? Right. Okay, so I'm not being anxious now, and I'm praying and I'm supplicating and I'm thanking God. And where's that peace? Where's that peace? I'm waiting for it. I know I've mentioned many times before about the pillow that my mother got from my brother that you would squeeze it. It had this frowny face on the outside, and it said, worry, worry, worry. Why do you worry about everything? How are you going to pay the bills? What are the kids doing? Who's taking care of this? How am I going to get this done? What's going to happen next week? Look what happened yesterday. Worry, worry, worry. And it was based on Philippians 4. Don't be anxious. You know, sometimes when somebody says don't be something, it makes us more anxious. You tell me don't be anxious. All right, I don't want to be anxious. Now I'm more anxious because you told me not to be anxious and I don't know how to not be anxious. Get it? Yeah. So I remembered another one of my very favorite scriptures that was found way back in the Old Testament in Isaiah. And somebody had given me a little plaque with this on it, and it said from Isaiah 26:3, "Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusts in thee." Okay, I get it. So he will keep me in perfect peace if my mind is stayed on him. So I put my hands on both sides of my head and, okay, mind, just stay on him. And then the next thought is, but you got to do this. You better stop wasting time. You got to get this done. You got to go there. You got to pick this up. What about this? What about this? Worry, worry. Help me, help me. I don't have any peace yet, Lord. And then I remembered a song we used to sing. I got the peace that passes understanding down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. I got the peace that passes understanding down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay. Stop. And I did. I had peace for that time that I was singing that song. So the verse said, through prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. In other words, you can really control what you think about. You can control what you feel because of what you think about. It's too complicated for me. All I know is that as long as I was singing or saying a psalm or quoting a verse or encouraging somebody else or talking to someone else or even talking to myself, what was coming out of me, flowing through me, was peace and joy and love and thanksgiving and positivity until I got silent and started thinking again. Oh no, what am I going to do? Where am I going to get that? How am I going to pay for that? I've just been wasting time with all of that. No, stop. You were able to be successful for a while. I don't know if any of you have ever gone on thousands of diets like I have, but when you string them all together, if you stay on a diet for a week and then go off for a couple of days or on for 6 weeks and off for a week, everything that you do that is part of the goal, part of the good, part of getting there is making you stronger and better, and you're losing weight. Well, in this instance, you're gaining peace. That's what you were looking for. Can't I just have a minute of peace? Can't one little thing be my peace? And the answer was yes. And I saw then how to get it. Right before this section on Be Anxious for Nothing is Paul's admonition on how two women were to get along and that the other believers were to help them. So here's Paul, who had been imprisoned, he'd had shipwrecks, he had had snake bites, but he had had joy and was passing this on and telling others to rejoice, to have joy, forget what is behind, but to focus on being gentle. Peacemakers are gentle. If you're going to have the peace that passes understanding, listen to my voice. If I'm going, I don't know what I'm going to do, how am I going to... Or if I'm saying, you know what? I don't have an answer to this yet, but I know the one that does, and I'm going to trust him. And he said, let your gentleness be known and evident to all, for the Lord is near. So he's the one that will supply the peace. He's the only one that can make us gentle and focus on those sweet songs and scriptures and trust that he has the future even if we don't have a clue. And my friend, believe me, we don't have a clue. But in the midst of this, why can't we have joy? Why can't we still chat with friends and have a Bible study even and go out on the water and walk through the woods and take a hike and enjoy nature? We can. And that's just what I'm going to do. So friends, what about being anxious? Just don't. Instead, focus your past, present, and future on the one who is known as the Prince of Peace, and he shall supply your needs. Thank you, my God, my Father, my friend, Jesus, that you do supply our needs, that you do give us your gentleness and your peace, that we don't have to be anxious. We don't have to scream and holler and rant and rave and worry and go crazy. No, even in the midst of trying to figure out things to do and asking God to supply that and to give us new and fresh ideas, to enjoy one another, to have a sense of humor, and to have that peace that passes all understanding. I love it, my friends. That gift is yours. Here's your peace for the day. Will you receive it? I'm Dr. Pepper's Shaking the Salt. Thank you for listening in again. I've got the peace that passes understanding down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. Thanks for staying on, my friend. If you would like to contact me, visit saltandlightministry.com. If you want to share your story with me, ask a question, have me come speak to your group, or maybe just request prayer. Once again, saltandlightministry.com. Thanks and God bless.